AFSC is American Friends Service Committee, and it's a Quäker organisation that works on behalf of Quäkers in America and implements a lot of programs both in the United States and globally. So internationally we have programs in Asia, Africa, Latin America and the Middle East. And all our work is based on the Quäker principles, primarily social justice and peace and equality. And AFSC was established in 1917 following the First World War, so we're celebrating our centenary shortly. Well, Quäkers started strongly campaigning against slavery and were very successful in the anti-slavery movement, and since then they've carried out numerous campaigns including starting in I suppose in the 90s and gathering momentum against landmines and creating a great coalition on phasing out the use of landmines. They've worked very hard in the US and the UK recently to campaign for the rights of same-sex marriages in religious establishments. And in America, a lot of work on the migration rights and the treatment of people in prisons as well. I'm based in Phnom Penh in Cambodia, and the Asia region consists of 5 programs, so I'm responsible for managing the country representatives that manage and implement those programs. I'm responsible for coordination with our head office, which is in Philadelphia in the US, and I'm responsible for developing our strategy in the region and supporting our programs to work towards similar goals as far as is realistic and possible. My first connection with Quäkers was through my grandparents. My mother's parents were Quäkers, so I knew Quäkers a little from my early years. And then actually my grandmother always wanted me to work for peace and work with the Quäkers, and it was something when I was younger I wasn't interested in. But I started working overseas in Asia in various positions for, I'd say, about 10 years from 99. And then I went home to the UK, I'm from the UK, and started working for Quäker Peace and Social Witness in the UK, which is the British equivalent to American Friends Service Committee. So I joined them because I completely appreciated and was aligned to their Quäker values. And then after that experience, for 3 years, I saw the advert for the position I'm now in, Regional Director for Asia, and it combined my commitment and respect for Quäker work and my experience in Asia. So as soon as I saw the advert, I really felt that's the job I'd love. So I was drawn by, really, the commitment to peace and equality in the organisation, and its focus in Asia is perfect for me. Yeah, I mentioned earlier we have 5, but I won't explain them all in detail. That very interesting to me is our programme in North Korea. And this is a programme that was established in the 80s, and it's an agricultural programme. So it began actually in response as well to famine in the 90s. It expanded, and we support, as an American organisation, very rare, and we support 4 farms to innovate with different techniques of growing rice and different crops to increase productivity. And these are sample farms that if they are successful in what they're doing and share their results, then they could, you know, the innovations could become implemented nationwide. But another element to the programme is to promote friendship in some ways between the US and North Korea, and in the US to promote the human face of North Koreans. So we take back stories of the people we work with, the farmers we work with, their families, to the US and encourage policymakers and others to reconsider the attitude towards North Korea. So that's one example that has a very practical element and an advocacy element. And then another example of our work could be we have a couple of different programs in Myanmar, Burma. One of them is support that we give to teachers who teach in what are called monastic schools. And these are the schools, the village schools, that children who, I suppose the poorest children who can't go to the government schools because although they're free, maybe they can't afford the uniform or the books, they can go to the monastic schools. And typically the teachers in monastic schools are less qualified than the government schools. So we provide training to teachers through partners in Myanmar, and the training promotes child-centred teaching and promotes critical thinking and environmental awareness. So through the teaching we're hoping to support children to develop questioning with some political questions about their own country and to be environmentally friendly. Achievements within my work with AFSC. I joined AFSC in September 2013, so I think I've been with the organisation for a year and a half, and for me what I feel is an achievement so far in my capacity has been to bring our team in Asia together to form a much stronger team who collaborate more, and we reflect on each other's programmes and we look in more detail at the impact we're having and have more detailed discussion on, considering our resources are finite, how can we have the greatest impact? How can we measure what we're doing? And this makes our work more focused. It's not based on assumption, but it's based on facts and improvement. And I think as a region we work now much better together, and it shows in the way the projects are implemented. Well, I mean, that's a lovely question, and it explains partly why I wanted to work with them. I think they're not comparable to NGOs. We have, our work is niche work. We're not really service providers. A lot of our work is quite political, and because our donors are very supportive of our principles, we have a lot of flexibility. So we can implement work that other organisations can't. If a lot of our work promoting peace deals with conflict, and we can work with all sides of a conflict. So, for example, there are some tensions in Myanmar between Buddhists and Muslims. We can work with the unpopular figures. We can work with some of the people that are promoting hate speech, people that others wouldn't necessarily want to work with. And as Quäkers, we see that of God in everyone, we see good in everybody, so we try and work with the bodies who are often depicted as the enemy or the oppressor. So I think that's a part of the work I enjoy. And NGOs can change their goals depending on who the director is, whereas a faith-based organisation is committed to the principles, whoever the people are developing the strategy or directing the organisation. I know that with AFSC, they've spent 100 years focusing on peace and social justice, and I know for the next 100 years that will remain the focus. So for me, I enjoy that consistency and long-term commitment. Well, it's very different to the UK. Primarily the climate is very different, which I love. And the work, I'd say, for myself, I work far harder in Asia and in Phnom Penh than I do when I'm in the UK in some ways, because our working hours are naturally a lot longer. The job's quite demanding, so it involves evening work and weekend work as well. Whereas I think in the UK, even when everyone's very committed to their work, you tend to start at 9 and finish at 5, and compared to working in Asia, it feels like quite a short day. What is harder in Cambodia, for example? Well, the government is, it's a democratic system, and in some ways you have more access to ministers and higher level politicians, but I'd say there's far less transparency in Cambodia than in the UK, and corruption is endemic. And even if you work with the organisations that's committed not to become engaged in bribery in any way, is very hard when it comes down to it to operate without becoming enmeshed in some of these dynamics. So I'd say that's quite hard. And also the commitment of the politicians to their goals, sometimes it's not clear quite actually where their commitments lie, whether it's with personal interest, whether the long-term improvement of the country is their interest. So I'd say working with the government's a bit tricky, but more accessible. So if we find what we try and do is find strong people within the ministry that we're involved with, whether it's the Ministry of Environment. We're also working with the Ministry of Commerce. Maybe not the minister, him or herself, but other key people that are empathetic to our goals and seem to be committed themselves, and they're the ones we try to build relationships with. Actually, I don't miss very much. I don't miss the weather in the UK, but I think something I miss is sharing a sense of humour. If I'm in the UK, if I go into a shop or take a taxi or speak with someone in the street, you can exchange a few words and understand each other. You can have a joke with someone in the street that you don't even know. I really enjoy that. That would never happen in Cambodia. Yeah, although the people are very friendly, the sense of humour is quite different. Yeah.